Good morning to all of our participants of this wonderful marathon. This marathon that brings goodness and blessings to people. It brings knowledge to serve God and to understand our spiritual nature. And as we said, it's the biggest form of God. Glorious to Srila Prabhupada is the best way to bring people good is to bring them spiritual knowledge. Because it's nice that the soul has now finally found a spiritual form, a human form of life. It's very good. We can only understand God in this human form of life, and to be able to love God in the human form of life. And so we're continuing to read 23rd 23rd chapter of 46, and we stopped writing about the different qualities of Krishna, and now we're going into more the qualities of Srimati Radharani. Let's read some mantras to purify the air.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Gurudev. Продолжаем.
We're continuing on. So 23rd chapter, love of God, life's ultimate goal. Text 83 or 86. Similarly, Srimati Radharani has unlimited transcendental qualities, of which 25 are principal. Sri Krishna is controlled by these transcendental qualities of Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani's 25 chief transcendental qualities are: she is very sweet, she is always freshly youthful, her eyes are restless, she smiles brightly, she has beautiful auspicious lines, she makes Krishna happy with her bodily aroma, she is very expert in singing, her speech is charming, she is very expert in joking and speaking pleasantly, she is very humble and meek, she is always full of mercy, she is cunning, she is expert in executing her duties, she is shy, she is always respectful, she is always calm, she is always grave, she is expert in enjoying life, she is situated at the topmost level of ecstatic love, she is the reservoir of loving affairs in Gokul, she is the most famous of submissive devotees, she is very affectionate to elderly people, she is very submissive to the love of her friends, she is the chief gopi, she always keeps Krishna under her control. In short, she possesses unlimited transcendental qualities, just as Lord Krishna does. The basis of all transcendental mellows is she is the hero of the heroine, and Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, are the best. Just as Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani are the object and shelter of the mellow of conjugal love, so in the mellow of servitorship, Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, is the object, and servants like Chitraka, Raktaka, and Pratraka are the shelter. Similarly, in the transcendental mellow of friendship, Lord Krishna is the object, and friends like Sridama, Sudama, and Subala are the shelter. In the transcendental mellow of parental affection, Krishna is the object, and Madhya Yashoda and Maharaj Nanda are the shelter. Now hear how the mellows appear and how they are realized by the devotees on different transcendental platforms. For those who are completely washed of all material contamination by pure devotional service, who are always satisfied and brightly enlightened in the heart, who are always attached to understanding the transcendental meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, who are always eager to associate with advanced devotees, whose happiness in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is their very life, who always discharge the confidential activities of love. For such advanced devotees, who are by nature situated in bliss, the seed of love, rati, is expanded in the heart by previous and current reformatory processes. Thus the mixture of ecstatic ingredients becomes tasty, and being within the perception of the devotee reaches the highest platform of wonder and deep bliss. The exchange between Krishna and different devotees situated in different transcendental mellows is not to be experienced by non-devotees. Advanced devotees can understand and appreciate the different varieties of devotional service reciprocated with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotees cannot understand the exchange of transcendental mellows between the devotee and the Lord. In all respects, this is very difficult to understand, but one who has dedicated everything to the lotus feet of Krishna can taste the transcendental mellows. This brief description is an elaboration of the ultimate goal of life. Indeed, this is the fifth and ultimate goal, which is beyond the platform of liberation. It is called Krishna Prema Dana, the treasure of love of Krishna. Previously, I empowered your brother Rupa Goswami to understand these mellows. I did this while instructing him at the Dashvamedha Ghat in Prayag. O Sanatana, you should broadcast the revealed scriptures on devotional service and excavate the lost places of pilgrimage in the district of Mathura. Establish devotional service to Lord Krishna and Radharani in Vrindavan. You should also compile bhakti scriptures and preach the bhakti cult from Vrindavan. Sri Krishna Caitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami about proper renunciation according to the particular situation, and the Lord forbade dry renunciation and speculative knowledge in all respects. One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is always satisfied, forgiving and self-controlled, who is engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence dedicated to me, such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. He by whom no one is put into difficulty or anxiety, who is not disturbed by anyone, who is liberated from jubilation, anger, fear, and anxiety, is very dear to me. A devotee who is not dependent on others, but is dependent solely on me, who is clean inwardly and outwardly, who is expert, indifferent to material things, without cares, and free from all pains, and who rejects all pious and impious activities, is very dear to me. One who is free from all material jubilation, hatred, lamentation, and desire, who renounces both materially auspicious and materially inauspicious things, and who is devoted to me, is very dear to me. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from attachment to material things, and always grave and satisfied in all circumstances, who doesn't care for any residence, who is always fixed in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. Devotees who follow these imperishable religious principles of Krishna consciousness with great faith and devotion, fully accepting me as the supreme goal, are very dear to me. Are there no torn cloths lying on the common road? Do trees which exist for maintaining others no longer give alms in charity? Do the rivers, being dried up, no longer supply water to the thirsty? Are the caves of the mountains now closed? Or, above all, does the unconquerable Supreme Personality of Godhead not protect the fully surrendered souls? Why then should learned persons like devotees go to flatter those who are intoxicated by hard-earned wealth? Thereafter Sanatana Goswami inquired from Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu about all the conclusive statements concerning devotional service, and the Lord very vividly explained all the confidential meanings of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the revealed scripture, Harivamsha, there is a description of Golok Vrindavan, the planet where Lord Sri Krishna eternally resides. This information was given by King Indra when he surrendered to Krishna and offered prayers after Krishna had raised Govardhan hill. Illusory stories opposed to the conclusions of Krishna consciousness concern the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna's disappearance, the story that Krishna and Balaram arise from the black hair and white hair of Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and the story about the kidnapping of the queens. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami the proper conclusions of these stories. Sanatana Goswami then humbly accepted his position as lower than a piece of straw, and symbolically holding some straw in his mouth, he fell down, clasped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and submitted the following petition. Sanatana Goswami said, "My dear Lord, I am a very low-born person. Indeed, I am a servant to low-born people. Therefore, I am very, very downtrodden. Nonetheless, you have taught me conclusions unknown even to Lord Brahma. The conclusion that you have told me are the ocean of the ambrosia of truth. My mind is unable to approach even a drop of that ocean. If you want to make a lame man like me dance, kindly bestow your transcendental blessings by placing your lotus feet on my head. Now will you please tell me, let whatever I have instructed all be fully manifested unto you. By blessing me in this way, you will give me strength to describe all this." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then placed his hand on Sanatana Goswami's head and blessed him, saying, "Let all these instructions be manifested to you." Thus I have briefly described a discussion of the ultimate goal of life, love of Godhead. The mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot be described expansively. Whoever hears these instructions given to Sanatana Goswami by the Lord comes very soon to realize love of God, Krishna. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus ends Chapter 23, entitled Life's Ultimate Goal, Love of God. Chapter 24, the 61 explanations of the Atma Ram verse. Chapter 24, Summary. Following the summary of this chapter is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Prabhava Vyasa. According to Sri Sanatana Goswami's request, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the well-known Srimad Bhagavatam verse beginning Adma Ramas Cha Munayaha. He explained the verse in 61 different ways. He analyzed all the words and described each word with its different connotations. Adding the words cha and api, he described all the different meanings of the verse. He then concluded that different classes of transcendentalists, jnanis, karmis, yogis, utilize this verse according to their own interpretation, but if they would give up this process and surrender to Krishna as indicated by the verse itself, they would be able to comprehend the real meaning of the verse. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu narrated a story about how the great sage Narada converted a hunter into a great Vaishnav, and how this was appreciated by Narada's friend Parvata Muni. Sanatana Goswami then offered a prayer to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. After this, the Lord gave Sanatana Goswami a synopsis of Hari Bhakta Vilas, which Sanatana Goswami later developed into guiding principles of all Vaishnavas. Verse 1. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who acted as the eastern horizon where the sun of the Admaram verse rose. He manifested its rays in the form of different meanings, and thus eradicated darkness of the material world. May he protect the universe. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Thereafter, Sanatana Goswami clasped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and humbly submitted the following petition. Sanatana Goswami said, My Lord, I have heard that previously at the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya you explained the Admaram verse in 18 different ways. Those who are self-satisfied and unattracted by external material desires are also attracted to the loving service of Sri Krishna, whose qualities are transcendental and whose activities are wonderful. Hari, the personality of Godhead, is called Krishna because he has transcendently attractive features. I have heard this wonderful story, and I am therefore very inquisitive to hear your explanation again. If you would kindly repeat it, I would be very pleased to hear. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, I am one madman, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is another. Therefore he took my words to be the truth. I do not recall what I spoke in that connection, but if something comes to my mind due to association with you, I shall explain it. Generally by myself I cannot give an explanation, but by the strength of your association something may manifest itself. There are 11 clear words in this verse, but when they are studied separately, various meanings glitter from each word. The 7 different meanings of the word Atma are the absolute truth, the body, the mind, endeavor, firmness, intelligence, and nature. The following are synonyms of the word Atma: the body, mind, absolute truth, natural characteristics, firmness, intelligence, and endeavor. The word Atmarama refers to one who enjoys these 7 items: the absolute truth, body, mind, and so on. Later I shall enumerate the Atmaramas. My dear Sanatana, first hear the meaning of the other words, beginning with the word Muni. I shall first explain their separate meanings, then combine them. The word Muni refers to one who is thoughtful, one who is grave or silent, an ascetic, one who keeps great vows, one in the renounced order, and a saint. These are the different meanings of the word Muni. The word Nirgranta refers to one who is liberated from the material knots of ignorance. It also refers to one who is devoid of all regulative principles enjoyed in the Vedic literatures. It also refers to one who does not have knowledge. Nirgranta also refers to one who is illiterate, lowborn, misbehaved, unregulated, and devoid of respect for Vedic literature. The word refers to one who is a capitalist and to one who has no riches. The prefix nihi may be used for a sense of ascertainment, gradation, construction, and forbidding. The word Granta means riches, thesis, and composition. The word Urukrama refers to one. Krama, step, is great. The word Krama means throwing the foot forward, that is, stepping. Krama also means power, trembling, and systematic method, argument, and forcible attack by stepping forward. Thus, Vamana caused the 3 worlds to tremble. Even if a learned man is able to count all the minute atoms in the material world, he still cannot count the potencies of Vishnu in the form of Lord Vamana incarnation. In the form of the Lord Vamana incarnation, Lord Vishnu, without hindrance, captured all the planets extending from the root of the material world up to Satyaloka. Indeed, he caused every planetary system to tremble by his force of his step. Through his all-pervasive feature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has expanded the entire creation. He is holding and maintaining this creation by his extraordinary potency. By his conjugal potency, he maintains the planetary system known as Goloka Vrindavan. Through his 6 opulences, he maintains many Vaikuntha planets. The word Urukrama indicates the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who by his external potency has perfectly recreated innumerable universes. These are the different meanings of the word krama. It is used in the sense of potency, systematic arrangement, step, moving, or trembling. The word kurvanti means they do something for others, since it is a form of the verb to do, indicating things done for others. It is used in connection with devotional service, which must be executed for the satisfaction of Krishna. That is the purport of the word kurvanti. The terminations of the atmane pada are employed when the fruit of the actions accrues to the agent of the verb having an indicatory inya or a swarita accent. The word hetu, cause, means that a thing is done for some motive. There can be three motives. One may act to enjoy the result, personally, to achieve some material perfection, or to attain liberation. First, we take the word bhukti, material enjoyment, which is of unlimited variety. We may also take the word siddhi, perfection, which has 18 varieties. Similarly, the word mukti has 5 varieties. Causeless devotional service is unmotivated by sense enjoyment, perfection, or liberation. When one is freed from all these contaminations, he can bring Lord Krishna, who is very funny, under control. There are 10 meanings of the word bhakti, devotional service. One is a sadhana bhakti, execution of devotional service according to the regulated principles, and the other 9 are varieties of prema bhakti, ecstatic love of Godhead. Next, symptoms of love of Godhead, which can be divided into 9 varieties, beginning with attraction and extending up to ecstatic love, and finally to the topmost ecstatic love, Mahabhava. The attraction of Krishna of devotees on the platform of neutrality increases up to love of Godhead, prema, and the attraction of the devotees on the platforms of servitorship increases to spontaneous attachment, raga. Devotees in Vrindavan who are friends of the Lord can increase their ecstatic love to the point of anuraga. Parental affection, lovers, Krishna's father and mother, can increase their love of Godhead up to the end of anuraga. The gopis of Vrindavan who are attached to Krishna in conjugal love can increase their point of Mahabhava, the greatest ecstatic love. These are some of the glorious meanings of the word bhakti. Please hear the meaning of the word itam bhuta guna, which is found in the Atmaram verse. Itam bhuta has different meanings, and guna has other meanings. The word itam bhuta is transcendently exalted because it means full of transcendental bliss. Before this transcendental bliss, the bliss delivered from the merging into the existence of the absolute Brahmananda becomes like a piece of straw in comparisons. My dear Lord, O Master of the universe, since I have directly seen you, my transcendental bliss has taken the shape of a great ocean. Being situated in that ocean, I now realize all other so-called happinesses to be like the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf. Lord Krishna is so exalted that he is more attractive than anything else, and more pleasing than anything else. He is the most sublime abode of bliss. He is his own strength. He causes one to forget all other ecstasies. Pure devotional service is so sublime that one can very easily forget the happiness derived from material enjoyment, material liberation, and mystic or yogic perfection. Thus the devotee is bound by Krishna's mercy and his uncommon power and qualities. When one is attracted to Krishna on the transcendental platform, there is no longer any logical argument on the basis of the revealed scriptures, nor are there considerations of such conclusions. This is his transcendental quality and the essence of all transcendental sweetness. The word guna means quality. The qualities of Krishna are transcendently situated and are unlimited in quality. All of the spiritual qualities are full of transcendental bliss. Krishna's transcendental qualities of opulence, sweetness, and mercy are perfect and full. As far as Krishna's affectionate leaning toward his devotee is concerned, he is never so magnanimous that he can give himself to his devotees. Krishna has unlimited qualities. The devotees are attracted by his uncommon beauty, mellows, and fragrance. Thus, they are differently situated in different transcendental mellows. Therefore, Krishna is called all-attractive. The minds of the four Boer sages, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar, were attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna by the aroma of the tulsi leaves that had been offered to the Lord. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves, the saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, entered through the nostrils and the hearts of those sages, the Kumaras, they experienced a change in both body and mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. Shukadev's mind was carried away by the hearing of the pastimes of the Lord. Shukadev Goswami addressed Parikshit Maharaj, "My dear king, although I was fully situated in transcendental position, I was nonetheless attracted to the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Therefore I studied Srimad Bhagavatam from my father. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva and the destroyer of all sinful reactions. Being full in self-realization and bliss, he had no material desire. Still, he was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And out of compassion for the people, he described the transcendental historic literature called Srimad Bhagavatam. This is compared to the light of the Absolute Truth. Lord Sri Krishna attracts the minds of all the gopis with his beautiful transcendental bodily features. Dear Krishna, we have simply surrendered ourselves as your maidservants. We have seen your beautiful face decorated with tresses of hair, your earrings falling upon your cheeks, and the nectar of your lips, and the beauty of your smile. Indeed, because we have also been embraced by your arms, which gives us courage, and seen your chest, which is beautiful and broad, we have surrendered ourselves. The queens in Dwarka, headed by Rukmini, are also attracted to Krishna simply by hearing about his transcendental beauty and qualities. O most beautiful Krishna, I have heard about your transcendental qualities from others, and therefore all my bodily miseries are relieved. If someone sees your transcendental beauty, his eyes have attained everything profitable in life. O infallible one, I have become shameless after hearing of your qualities, and I have become attracted to you. Lord Krishna even attracts the minds of the goddess of fortune simply by vibrating his transcendental flute. O Lord, we do not know how the serpent Kaliya attained such an opportunity to be touched by the dust of your lotus feet. For this end, the goddess of fortune performed austerities for centuries, giving up all other desires and taking austere vows. Indeed, we do not know how this serpent Kaliya got such an opportunity. Krishna attracts not only the minds of the gopis and the goddess of fortune, but the minds of all the young girls in the three worlds as well. My dear Lord Krishna, where is that woman within the three worlds who would not be captivated by the rhythms of the sweet songs coming from your wonderful flute? Who would not fall down from the path of chastity in this way? Your beauty is most sublime within the three worlds. Upon seeing your beauty, even cows, birds, animals, and trees in the forest become stunned in jubilation. The women of Vrindavan, who are on the level of superior guardians, are attracted to Lord Krishna maternally, and the men of Vrindavan are attracted as servants, friends, and fathers. The qualities of Krishna captivate that attract everything, living and non-living. Even birds, animals, and trees are attracted to Krishna's qualities. Although the word Hari has many different meanings, two of them are foremost. One meaning is that the Lord takes away all inauspicious things from his devotee, and the second meaning is that he attracts the mind of ecstatic love for God. When the devotee somehow or other remembers the Supreme Personality of Godhead, anywhere and everywhere, Lord Hari takes away life's four miserable conditions. As all fuel is burned into ashes by a full-fledged fire, all sinful activities are totally erased when one engages in devotional service to me. In this way, when all sinful activities are vanquished by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one gradually vanquishes all kinds of impediments on the path of devotional service, as well as the ignorance resulting from these impediments. After this, one totally manifests his original love of Godhead through devotional service in the 9 different ways, hearing, chanting, and so forth. When the devotee is free from all sinful material activities, Krishna attracts his body, mind, and senses to his service. Thus, Krishna is very merciful and his transcendental qualities are very attractive. When one's mind, senses, and body are attracted to the transcendental qualities of Hari, one gives up the 4 principles of material success. Thus I have explained the chief meanings of the word Hari. When the conjunction cha and the adverb api although are added to this verse, the verse can assume whatever meaning one wants to give it. The word cha can be expanded in 7 ways. The word cha and is used to connect a word or sentence with the previous word or sentence, to give a sense of aggregation, to assess the meaning, and to give a collective understanding, to suggest another effort or exertion, or to fulfill the meter of a verse. It is also used in the sense of certainty. There are 7 chief meanings of the word api. They are as follows. The word api is used in the sense of possibility, question, doubt, censure, aggregation, appropriate application of things, and extravagance. I have now described the different meanings of the 11 separate words. Now let me give the complete meaning of the shloka, as it is applied in the different places. The word Brahma indicates the summum bonum, the absolute truth, which is greater than all other truths. It is the original identity, and there can be nothing equal to the absolute truth. I offer my respectful obeisances to the absolute truth, the summum bonum. He is the all-pervasive, all-increasing subject matter for the great yogis. He is changeless, and he is the soul of all. The proper meaning of the word Brahma is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is one without a second, and with whom nothing else exists. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that it is non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. That absolute truth without a second is Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the supreme truth in the past, present, and future. That is the evidence of all revealed scriptures. Prior to the cosmic creation, only I exist, and no phenomena exist, either gross, subtle, or primordial. After creation, only I exist in everything, and after annihilation, only I remain eternally. There are 3 ways to attain the lotus feet of the absolute truth, Krishna. There is the process of philosophical speculation, the practice of mystic yoga, and the execution of devotional service. Each of these has its different characteristics. The absolute truth is the same, but according to the process by which one understands him, he appears in three forms, as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth say that non-dual knowledge and is called impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead. Although the words Brahma and Atma indicate Krishna, their direct meaning refers only to the impersonal Brahman, the Supersoul, respectively. If one follows the path of philosophical speculation, the absolute truth manifests himself as impersonal Brahman, and if one follows the path of mystic yoga, he manifests himself as the Supersoul. There are two kinds of devotional activities, spontaneous and regulative. By spontaneous devotional service, one attains the original personality of Godhead, Krishna, and by the regulative processes, one attains the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By executing spontaneous devotional service in Vrindavan, one attains the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the son of Mother Yashoda, is accessible to those devotees engaged in spontaneous loving service. But he is not easily accessible to the mental speculators, to those striving for self-realization by severe austerities and penances, or to those who consider the body the same as the self. By executing regulative devotional service, one becomes an associate of Narayana and attains the Vaikuntha Lokas, the spiritual planets, and the spiritual sky. Those who discuss the activities of the Lord Krishna are on the highest platform of devotional life, and they invest the symptoms of tears in the eyes of bodily jubilation. Such persons discharge devotional service to Krishna without practicing the rules and regulations of mystic yoga system. They possess all spiritual qualities, and they are elevated to the Vaikuntha planets, which exist above us. The devotees are divided into three categories: Akama, desireless; Mokshakama, desiring liberation; and Sarvakama, desiring material perfection. One who is actually intelligent, although he may be a devotee free from material desires, a karmi desiring all kinds of material facilities, or a jnani desiring liberation, should seriously engage in bhakti yoga for satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The meaning of the word udaradhi is buddhiman, intelligent or considerate. Because of this, even for one's own sense gratification, one engages in the devotional service of Lord Krishna. The other processes cannot yield results unless they are associated with devotional service. Devotional service, however, is so strong and independent that it can give one all desired results. With the exception of devotional service, all the methods of self-realization are like the nipples on the neck of a goat. Therefore, an intelligent person adopts only devotional service, giving up all other processes of self-realization. O best among the Bharats, Arjuna, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Materialistic devotees take to devotional service and worship Krishna when they are distressed or in need of money. Those who are actually inquisitive to understand the supreme source of everything, and those who are in search of knowledge are called transcendentalists, for they desire liberation from all material contamination. Because they have a pious background, and all 4 types of people are to be considered greatly fortunate. Such people gradually give up material desires and become pure devotees. One is elevated to the platform of devotional life by the mercy of a Vaishnav, the bona fide spiritual master, and by the special mercy of Krishna. On that platform, one gives up all material desires and the association of unwanted people. Thus one and they get the special mercy of Thus one is elevated to the platform of pure devotional service. The intelligent who have understood the Supreme Lord in the association of pure devotees and have become free from bad materialistic association can never avoid hearing the glories of the Lord, even though they have heard them only once. Cheating oneself and cheating others is called kaitava. Associating with those who cheat in this way is called dushanga, bad association. Those who desire things other than Krishna's service are also called dushanga, bad association. The great scripture Srimad Bhagavatam, compiled by Mahamuni Vyasadeva from 4 original verses, describes the most elevated and kind-hearted devotees and completely rejects the cheating ways of the materially motivated religiosity. It propounds the highest principle of eternal religion, which can factually mitigate the threefold miseries of the living being and award the highest benediction of full prosperity and knowledge. Those willing to hear the messages of this scripture in a submissive attitude of service can at once capture the Supreme Lord in their hearts. Therefore, there is no need for any scripture other than Srimad Bhagavatam. The prefix para in this word, projita, specifically refers to those desiring liberation or oneness with the Supreme. Such a desire should be understood to be the foremost cheating propensity. The great commentator Sridhar Swami has explained this verse in that way. When merciful Lord Krishna understands that a foolish devotee desires material prosperity, he gratefully gives him the shelter of his lotus feet. In this way, the Lord covers the devotee's undesirable ambitions. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. Association with a devotee, the mercy of Krishna, and the nature of devotional service help one to give up all undesirable association and gradually attain elevation to the platform of love of Godhead. In this way, I shall progressively explain all the words in the Atmaram verse. It should be understood that all these words are meant to enable one to taste the transcendental qualities of Krishna. I have given all these explanations just to give some indication of the verse's meaning. Now let me explain the real meaning of the verse. There are 2 kinds of worshippers on the path of philosophical speculation. One is called Brahma Upasaka, a worshipper of the impersonal Brahman, and the other is called moksha kankshi, one who desires liberation. There are three types of people who worship the impersonal Brahman. The first is the beginner. The second is one whose thoughts are absorbed in Brahman. And the third is one who is actually merged in the impersonal Brahman. One cannot attain liberation simply through philosophical speculation, devoid of devotional service. However, if one renders devotional service, he is automatically on the Brahman platform. Characteristically, one in devotional service is attracted away from the impersonal Brahman platform. He is offered a transcendental body to engage in Lord Krishna's service. When one gets a devotee's spiritual body, he can remember the transcendental qualities of Krishna. Simply by being attracted to Krishna's transcendental qualities, one becomes a pure devotee engaged in his service. Even a liberated soul merged in the impersonal Brahman effulgence is attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. He thus installs a deity and renders the Lord's service. Although Shukadeva Goswami and the four Kumaras were always absorbed in thought of the impersonal Brahman and were thus Brahmavadis, they were nonetheless attracted to the transcendental pastimes and qualities of Krishna. Therefore, they later became devotees of Krishna. The minds of the four Kumaras were attracted by the aroma of the flowers offered to Krishna's lotus feet. Being thus attached by the transcendental qualities of Krishna, they engaged in pure devotional service. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves and the saffron from the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead entered through the nostrils into the hearts of those sages, the Kumaras, they experienced a change in both body and mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. By the mercy of Srila Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Being thus attracted by Krishna's transcendental qualities, he also became a devotee and engaged in his service. Being very much attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, the mind of Srila Shukadeva Goswami was agitated by Krishna consciousness. He therefore began to study Srimad Bhagavatam by the grace of his father. From their very births, the 9 great mystic yogis, Yogendras, were impersonal philosophers of the absolute truth. But because they heard about Lord Krishna's qualities from Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the great sage Narada, they also became Krishna's devotees. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a full description of the devotional service of the 9 Yogendras, who rendered devotional service because they were attracted by the Lord's transcendental qualities. The 9 Yogendras entered Lord Brahma's association and heard from him the real meaning of the topmost Vedic literatures, the Upanishads. Although the Yogendras were already conversant in Vedic knowledge, they became very jubilant in Krishna consciousness just by listening to Brahma. Thus, they wanted to enter Dwarka, the abode of Lord Krishna. In this way, they finally achieved the place known as Ranga Chetra. Those who wish to merge into the impersonal Brahman are also divided into 3 categories: those desiring to be liberated, those already liberated, and those who have realized Brahman. There are many people within this material world who desire liberation, and for this purpose they render devotional service to Lord Krishna. Those who want to be relieved from the material clutches give up the worship of the various demigods who have fearful bodily features. Such peaceful devotees, and who are not envious of the demigods, worship the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. If those who are attached to demigod worship fortunately associate with the devotees, their dormant devotional service and appreciation of the Lord's qualities gradually awaken, In this way, they also engage in Krishna's devotional service and give up the desire for liberation and the desire to merge into the existence of the impersonal Brahman. O great learned devotee, although there are many faults in this material world, there is one good opportunity, the association with devotees. Such association brings about great happiness. Due to this good quality, our strong desire to achieve liberation by merging into the Brahman effulgence has become weakened. By associating with the great saint Narada, Shaunaka, and other great sages gave up desire for liberation and engaged in Krishna's devotional service. Simply by meeting Krishna or receiving Krishna's special favor, one can give up the desire for liberation. Being attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna, one can engage in his service. In this Dwarkadam, I am being attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is personified spiritual bliss. Simply by seeing him, I am feeling great happiness. Oh, I have wasted so much time trying to become self-realized through impersonal cultivation. This is a cause for limitation. There are many people who are liberated even in this lifetime. Some are liberated by discharging devotional service, and others are liberated through the philosophical speculative process. Those who are liberated by devotional service become more and more attracted by the transcendental qualities of Krishna. Thus they engage in his service. Those who are liberated by the speculative process eventually fall down again due to offensive activity. O lotus-eyed one, those who think they are liberated in this life, but are without devotional service to you, are of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities, O lotus-eyed one, those who think they are liberated in life, but without devotional service in you, are of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities and penances and rise to the spiritual position, to impersonal Brahman realization, they fall down again because they neglect to worship your lotus feet. One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state he attains pure devotional service unto me. Although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I have nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maidservant by some cunning boy who is always joking with the gopis. One who has attained his constitutional position by the strength of devotional service attains a transcendental body, even in this lifetime. Being attracted by the Lord Krishna's transcendental qualities, he fully engages in the service at his lotus feet. The living entities and other potencies merge into Mahavishnu as the Lord lies down and winds up, destroys the cosmic manifestation. Liberation means being situated in one's eternal, original form after giving up the changeable gross and subtle bodies. By opposing Krishna consciousness, one becomes conditioned and fearful due to the influence of Maya. By executing devotional service faithfully, one is liberated from Maya. When the living entity is attracted by the material energy which is separate from Krishna, he is overpowered by fear. Because he is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead by the material energy, his conception of life is reversed. In other words, instead of being the eternal servant of Krishna, he becomes Krishna's competitor. This is called viparayo smritihi, to nullify this mistake. One who is actually learned and advanced worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his spiritual master, worshipful deity and source of life. He thus worships the Lord by the process of unalloyed devotional service. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. One does not attain liberation without rendering devotional service. Liberation is attained only by devotional service. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the only auspicious path. If one gives it up simply for speculative knowledge or the understanding that these living beings are spirit souls and the material world is false, he undergoes a great deal of trouble. He only gains troublesome and inauspicious activities. His actions are like beating a husk that is already devoid of rice. His labor becomes fruitless. O lotus-eyed one, those who think they are liberated in this life but are without devotional service to you are of impure intelligence. Although they accept severe austerities and penances and rise to the spiritual position to impersonal Brahman realization, they fall down again because they neglect to worship your lotus feet. If one simply maintains an official position in the four varnas and ashrams, but does not worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he falls down from his puffed up position into a hellish condition. When one is actually liberated by executing devotional service, he always engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Even a liberated soul merged in the impersonal Brahman effulgence is attracted to the pastimes of Krishna. He thus installs a deity and renders the Lord's service. These 6 kinds of Atmaramas engage in the loving service of Krishna. The varieties of service are indicated by adding cha, and they also bear the meaning of api indeed. The 6 kinds of Atmaramas render devotional service to Krishna without ulterior motives. The words munayaha and sanataha indicate those who are very much attached to meditating upon Krishna. The word nirgrantaha means without ignorance and devoid of rules and regulations. Whichever meaning fits may be applied. The use of the word cha in different places produces different meanings. Over and above them, there is another meaning that is very important. Although the word Atmaramas cha would be repeated 6 times, simply by adding the word cha, 5 Atmaramas are deleted. Therefore, there is no need to repeat the word Atmaram. One is sufficient, and that one word indicates 6 persons. Of words having the same form and case termination, the last one is the only one retained. For example, the word Ramaha is used to stand for Ramascha, 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 and so on. By the aggregate use of the word cha, it is indicated that all the Atmaramas and saints serve and worship Krishna. A p added to the word nirgrantaha. This is used for exposition. Thus I have tried to clarify 7 meanings of the word Atmaramas verse. The yogi who worships the supersoul within himself is also called Atmarama. There are 2 types of Atmaram yogis. The 2 types of Atmaram yogis are called Sagarbha and Nirgarbha. Each of these is divided into 3 types. Therefore, there are 6 types of worshippers of the supersoul. Some yogis think of the Lord within their hearts as measuring about 6 inches. The Lord has 4 hands which he holds a conch shell club, disc, and lotus flower. Those who worship this form of Vishnu within the heart are called Sagarbha yogis. When one is in ecstatic love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one's heart is melted by bhakti yoga and one feels transcendental bliss. There are bodily symptoms manifest, and due to eagerness there are tears in the eyes. Thus one is subjected to spiritual bliss. When the heart is overly afflicted, the meditative mind, like a fishing hook, is gradually separated from the object of meditation. By these 3 divisions of advancement in yoga, Yoga Ruruksho, Yoga Rudra, and Prapta Siddhi, there are 6 kinds of mystic yogis. For those saintly persons who wish to rise to the platform of yogic perfection, the means consist of practicing the yoga system by strictly following its regulative principles and practicing yoga postures, asanas, and breathing exercises. And for those who are already elevated to this platform, the means consist of maintaining mental equilibrium, shama, by rejecting all material activity, and practicing meditation to keep the mind on the Supreme Lord. When a person is no longer interested in acting for sense gratification, and when he renounces all material desires, he is said to be situated in perfect yoga, Yoga Rudra. When a purified yogi associates with devotees, he engages in Lord Krishna's devotional service, being attracted by the Lord's transcendental qualities. The meaning of the words cha and api can be applied here. The meanings of the word muni and nirgranta are the same as before. The word ahituki is always applicable to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Urukrama In this way, I have described 13 complete meanings of the Atmaram verse. These 13 types of yogis and munis are called Shanta Bhaktas, for they render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the neutral stage. The word Atma sometimes means the mind. In this case, the word Atmarama means a person who is satisfied by mental speculation. When such a person associates with a pure devotee, he takes to devotional service at the lotus feet of Krishna. Those who follow the path of great saintly mystic yogis take to the yogic gymnastic process and begin worshipping from the abdomen, where it is said that Brahman is located. Such people are called Sharkarakshas, which means that they are situated in the gross bodily conception. They are also followers of the rishis known as Aruna. Following his path, they observe the activities of the arteries. Thus they gradually rise to the heart, where the subtle Brahman, Paramatma, is situated. They then worship him. O unlimited Ananta! Better than these persons are the mystic yogis who worship you from the top of their heads, beginning with the abdomen and proceeding through the heart. They reach the top of the head and pass through the Brahma Randra, the hole at the top of the skull. Thus these yogis attain the perfectional platform and do not enter the cycle of birth and death again. Being attracted by transcendental qualities of Krishna, such yogis become great saints. At that time, they, not being hampered by the yogic process, they engage in unalloyed devotional service. Atma also means endeavor. Being attracted by Krishna's transcendental qualities, some saints make a great endeavor to come to the point of rendering service to him. The transcendental position cannot be attained by wandering up and down the Brahmaloka and Satyaloka to Patyaloka. If one is actually intelligent and learned, he should endeavor for that rare transcendental position. By the force of time, one attains whatever material happiness is available within the 14 worlds, just as one attains distress in due course of time. But since spiritual consciousness is not attained in this way, one should try for it. Those who are eager to awaken their spiritual consciousness and who thus have unflinching, undeviated intelligence certainly attain the desired goal of life very soon. The word cha may be used in place of api, which gives emphasis to something. Thus it means that without sincere endeavor and devotional service, one cannot attain love of Godhead. Devotional perfection is very difficult to attain for two reasons. First, unless one is attached to Krishna, he cannot attain devotional perfection, even if he renders devotional service for a long time. Second, Krishna does not easily deliver perfection in devotional service. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Another meaning of Atma is dhriti, or endurance. A person who endeavors with endurance is Atmarama. With endurance, such a person engages in devotional service. The word muni also means bird and bumblebee. The word Nyagranta refers to foolish people. By the mercy of Krishna, such creatures contact a sadhu, spiritual master, and thus engage in devotional service. My dear mother, in this forest, all the birds, after rising on the beautiful branches of the tree, are closing their eyes, and not being attracted by any other sound, are simply listening to the vibrations of Krishna's flute. Such birds must be on the same level as great saints. O good fortune personified, O original personality of Godhead, all these bees are chanting about your transcendental fame, which will purify the entire universe. Indeed, they are following your path in the forest and are worshipping you. Actually, they are all saintly persons, but now they have taken the form of bees. Although you were playing like a human being, they could not forget that you are their worshipable deity. All the cranes and swans in the water are being enchanted by the melodious songs of Krishna's flute. They have approached and are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full attention. Alas, they are closing their eyes and are becoming completely silent. Kritas, Kiratas, Hunas, Andras, Pulindas, Pukashas, Abhiras, Sumbas, Yavanas, and members of the Kasha races, and even others who are addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. The word dhriti is also used when one is fully perfect in knowledge. When, due to having obtained the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has no material miseries, he attains Mahapurna, the highest level of perfection. Dhriti is fullness felt due to the absence of misery and the attainment of knowledge of the Supreme Lord and pure love of him. The lamentation that accrues from not obtaining a goal or from losing something already attained does not affect this completeness. A devotee of Krishna is never in a miserable condition, nor does he have any desire other than to serve Krishna. He is experienced and advanced, and he feels the transcendental bliss of love of Krishna, and always engages in his service in full perfection. My devotees, having fulfilled their desires by serving me, do not accept the 4 kinds of salvation that are easily earned by such service. Why then should they accept any pleasure that are lost in the course of time? In this material world, all living entities are disturbed due to their flickering position. A devotee, however, is fixed in service to the lotus feet of the Lord, the master of the senses. Such a person is to be considered situated in endurance and patience. The word cha is for emphasis, and the word api is used to indicate an aggregate. Thus it is to be understood that even dull creatures, birds, and illiterates can also be situated in endurance and engage in Krishna's devotional service. The word atma is also used for the particular type of intelligence. Since all living entities generally have some intelligence, more or less, they are included. Everyone has some kind of intelligence, and one who utilizes his intelligence is called an Atmarama. There are 2 types of Atmaramas. One is a learned scholar and philosopher, and the other is an uneducated, illiterate, foolish person. By the mercy of Krishna and by the association of devotees, one increases his attraction to an intelligence for pure devotional service. Therefore, one gives up everything and engages himself at the lotus feet of Krishna and his pure devotees. I, Krishna, am the original source of everything. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my service with love and devotion. Women, 4th-class men, uncivilized hill tribes, hunters, and many others born of low families, as well as birds and beasts, can engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who acts very wonderfully, and follow the path of devotees and take lessons from them. Although the ocean of nations is vast, they can still cross over it. What then is the difficulty for those who are advanced in Vedic knowledge? Considering all these points, when one engages in the service of Krishna's lotus feet, Krishna gives one the intelligence by which he can gradually progress toward perfection in service to the Lord. Though to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. To be elevated to the platform of devotional service, the following 5 items should be observed: association with devotees, engagement in the service of Lord Krishna, the reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the chanting of the holy names, and residence at Vrindavan or Mathura. One's dormant love for Krishna gradually awakens if one is a little advanced in one of these 5 items and is intelligent. The power of these 5 principles is very wonderful and difficult to understand. Even without faith in them, a person who is offenseless can awaken his dormant love of Krishna simply by being a little connected with them. If a person is actually liberal and intelligent, he can advance and become perfect in devotional service even if he has material desires and serves the Lord with some motive. Whether one desires everything or nothing, or whether he desires to merge into the existence of the Lord, he is intelligent only if he worships Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by rendering transcendental loving service. Devotional service is so strong that when one engages in it, he gradually gives up all material desires and becomes fully attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna. All this is brought about by attraction for the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so, but he does not award anything which after being enjoyed will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill other desires. When one has desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. Another meaning of the word Atma is one's characteristic nature. Whoever enjoys his particular type of nature is called Atmarama. Therefore, all living entities, be they moving or non-moving, are also called Atmarama. The original nature of every living entity is to consider himself the eternal servant of Krishna, but under the influence of Maya he thinks himself to be the body, and thus his original consciousness is covered. In that case, by the word cha, the word eva is meant. The word api can be taken in this sense of aggregation. Thus the verse would read Atmarama eva, that is, even all kinds of living beings worship Krishna. Living entities include great personalities like the four Kumaras, and also low-class, foolish people, trees, plants, birds, and beasts. The devotional service of Vyas, Shuka, and the four Kumaras has already been well celebrated. Now let me explain how the immovable living entities like trees and plants engage in the Lord's devotional service. Everyone is eligible to receive Krishna's mercy, including Vyasadeva, the four Kumaras, Shukadeva Goswami, Lord-born creatures, trees, plants, and beasts. By Krishna's mercy, they are elevated and engaged in his service. This land of Vrindavan, Brajabhumi, is glorified today because your lotus feet have touched her earth and grass, your fingernails have touched her, and trees, creepers, and your merciful eyes have glanced upon her rivers. Hills, birds, and beasts, the gopis, have been embraced by your arms, and even the goddess of fortune desires this. Now all of these are glorified. My dear friend, Krishna and Balaram are passing through the forest leading their cows with their cowherd boyfriends. They both carry ropes with which at the time of milking they bind the real legs of the cow. When they play on their flutes, all moving living entities are stunned, and non-moving living entities experience ecstatic jubilation by their sweet music. All these things are certainly very wonderful. The plants, creepers, and trees were full of fruits and flowers due to ecstatic love of Krishna. Indeed, being so full, they were bowing down. They were inspired by such deep love for Krishna that they were constantly pouring showers of honey, and in this way the gopis saw all the forests of Vrindavan. Kiratas, Hunas, Andras, Pulindas, Pukashas, Abhiras, Sumbas, Yavanas, and members of the Kasha races, and even others who are addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord. Due to his being the supreme power, I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. I have already spoken about 13 meanings of the Atmarama verse. Now there are 6 more. Combined, these make 19. I have already explained 19 different meanings. Now please hear further meanings. The word Atma also refers to the body. This can be taken in 4 ways. 1. In the bodily conception, worships his own body as Brahman. But when he comes in contact with a devotee, he gives up this mistaken idea and engages himself in the devotional service of Lord Krishna. Those who follow the path of great saintly mystic yogis take to the yogic gymnastics process and begin worshipping from the abdomen, whereas it is said that Brahman is located. Such people are called Sharkarakash, Sharkaraksha, which means that they are situated in the gross bodily conception. There are also followers of the Rishi known as Aruna. Following his path, they observe the activities of the arteries. Thus they gradually rise to the heart where subtle Brahman and Paramatma is situated. They then worship him. O unlimited Ananta, better than these persons are the mystic yogis who worship you from the top of their heads, beginning with the abdomen and proceeding through the heart. They reach the top of the head and pass through the Brahma Randra, the hole at the top of the skull. Thus these yogis attain the perfectional platform and do not enter the cycle of birth and death again. Those who are in the bodily conception mainly engage in fruitive activity. Those who perform yagyas and ritualistic ceremonies are also considered in the same category. However, when such persons come in contact with the pure devotee, they give up their fruitive activity and fully engage in the service of the Lord. We have just begun performing this fruitive activity, a sacrificial fire, but due to the many imperfections in our actions, we are not certain of its result. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Govinda, which you are distributing. The tapasvis, those who undergo severe austerities and penances to elevate themselves to the higher planetary systems, are also in the same category. When such persons come in contact with a devotee, they give up all those practices and engage in Lord Krishna's service. The taste for loving service is like the water of the river Ganges, which flows from the feet of Lord Krishna. Every day that diminishes the results of sinful activities acquired over a period of many births by those who perform austerities. As long as one labors under the bodily conception, he must fulfill volumes and volumes of material desires. Thus a person is called Atmarama. When such an Atmarama is favored by the mercy of Krishna, he gives up his so-called self-satisfaction and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. When he was being blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Dhruva Maharaj said, "O my Lord, because I was seeking an opulent material position, I was performing severe types of penances and austerity. Now I have gotten you, who are very difficult for the great demigods, saintly persons, and kings to attain. I was searching after pieces of glass, but instead I have found the most valuable jewel. Therefore I am so satisfied that I do not wish to ask any benediction from you." In addition to the 19 meanings of the verse mentioned previously, there are these 4 further meanings when the word Atmarama is taken to mean those laboring under the bodily conception. This brings the total to 23. Now hear of another 3 meanings which are very suitable. As mentioned above, the word cha can be used to mean aggregate. According to these meanings, all the Atmaramas and Munis engaged in Krishna's service. Besides aggregate, there is another meaning of the word cha. The word nigrantaha can be used as an adjective, and api can be used in the sense of certainty. For instance, Rama's cha, Krishna's cha means that both Rama and Krishna enjoy walking in the forest. The word cha can also present a secondary thing to be done at the same time. This way of understanding the word cha is called anvachaye. An example is, O brahmachari, go out to collect alms and at the same time bring in the cows. Saintly persons who are always meditating upon Krishna are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. The Atmaramas are also engaged in the Lord's service. That is the indirect import. The word cha can also be used to indicate the certainty that only saintly persons are engaged in rendering devotional service to Krishna. In the combination Atmarama api, api is used in the sense of censor. The word nirgranta can be taken as an adjective modifying muni and Atmarama. There is another meaning which you may hear from me, indicating association with a devotee. Now I shall explain how it is that through the association of devotees, even a nirgranta can become a devotee. The word nirgranta, when combined with api, is used in the sense of certainty, indicates a person who is a hunter by profession, or who is very poor. Nonetheless, when such a person associates with a great saint like Narada, he engages in the Lord Krishna's devotional service. The words Krishna Ramascha refer to one who takes pleasure in thinking of Krishna. Even though such a person may be a hunter, he is still worshipable and is the best of devotees. I shall now narrate the story of how a hunter became a great devotee by the association of such an exalted personality as Narada Muni. From this story, one can understand the greatness of association with pure devotees. Once upon a time, the great Saint Narada, after visiting Lord Narayana in the Vaikunthas, went to Prayag to bathe at the confluence of the three rivers, Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati. Narada Muni saw that a deer was lying on the path through the forest, and that it was pierced by an arrow. It had broken legs, and it was twisting due to much pain. Further ahead, Narada Muni saw a boar pierced with an arrow. Its legs were also broken, and it was twisting in pain. When he went farther, he saw a rabbit, and it was also suffering. Narada Muni was greatly pained at heart to see the living entities suffer so. When Narada Muni advanced further, he saw a hunter behind a tree. This hunter was holding arrows, and he was ready to kill more animals. When Narada Muni advanced further, he saw the hunter behind a tree. When Narada Muni, the hunter's body was blackish, he had reddish eyes, and he appeared fierce. It was as if the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, was standing there with a bow and arrows in his hand. When Narada Muni left the forest path and went to the hunter, all the animals immediately saw him and fled. When all the animals fled, the hunter wanted to chastise Narada with abusive language, but due to Narada's presence, he could not utter anything else. When all the animals fled, the hunter wanted to chastise. The hunter addressed Narada Muni, "O Goswami, O great saintly person, why have you left the general path through the forest to come see me? Simply by seeing you, all the animals I was hunting have now fled." Narada Muni replied, "Leaving the path, I have come to you to settle a doubt that is in my mind. I was wondering whether all the boars and other animals that you have killed belong to you." The hunter replied, "Yes. What are you saying so?" Narada Muni then inquired, "Why did you not kill the animals completely? Why did you half kill them by piercing them with their bodies with arrows?" The hunter replied, "My dear saintly person, my name is Mrigari, enemy of animals. My father taught me to kill Narada Muni then told the hunter, I have one thing to beg for you. The hunter replied, you may take whatever animals or anything else you would like. I have many skins, and therefore Narada Muni said, I do not want any of the skins. I am asking only one thing from you in charity. I beg you that from this day on you will kill animals completely and not leave them half dead. The hunter replied, my dear sir, what are you asking of me? What is wrong with the animals lying there half killed? Will you please explain this to me? Narada Muni replied, if you leave the animals half dead, you are purposely giving them pain. Therefore you will have to suffer in retaliation. Narada Muni continued, my dear hunter, your business is killing. Narada Muni continued, my dear hunter, your business is killing animals. That is a slight offense on your part, but when you constantly give them unnecessary pain by leaving them half dead, you incur very great sins. Narada Muni continued, all the animals that you have killed and given unnecessary pain will kill you one after another in your next life and in the life after life. In this way, through their association of the great sage Narada Muni, the hunter was a little convinced of his life sinful activity. He therefore became somewhat afraid due to offenses. The hunter then admitted that he was convinced of his sinful activity, and he said, I have been taught this business from my very childhood. I am now wondering how I can become freed from these unlimited volumes of sinful activities. The hunter continued, my dear sir, please tell me how I can be relieved from the reactions of my sinful life. Now I am fully surrendered unto you and fall down at your lotus feet. Please deliver me from sinful reactions. Narada Muni assured the hunter, if you listen to my instructions, I shall find the way you can be liberated. The hunter then said, my dear sir, whatever you say, I shall do. Immediately ordered him, first of all, break your bow, then I shall tell you what is to be done. The hunter replied, if I break my bow, how shall I maintain myself? Narada Muni replied, don't worry, I shall supply your food every day. Being thus assured by the great sage Narada Muni, the hunter broke his bow immediately, fell down at the saint's lotus feet, and fully surrendered. After this, Narada Muni raised him with his hand and gave him instructions for spiritual advancement. Narada Muni then advised the hunter, return home and distribute whatever riches you have to the pure brahmanas and who know the absolute truth. After you have distributed all your riches to the brahmanas, you and your wife should leave home, each of you taking only one cloth to wear. Narada Muni continued, leave your home and go to the river. There you should construct a small cottage. In the front of the cottage you should grow a tulsi plant on a raised platform. After planting the tulsi tree before your house, you should daily circumambulate the tulsi plant, serve it by giving her water and other things, and continuously chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Narada Muni continued, every day I shall send sufficient food to you as both, and you can take as much food as you want. The 3 animals that were half killed were then brought to their consciousness by the sage Narada. Indeed, the animals got up and swiftly fled. When the hunter saw these half-killed animals flee, he was certainly struck with wonder. He then offered his respectful obeisances to the sage Narada and returned home. After all this, Narada went to his destination. After the hunter returned home, he exactly followed the instructions of his spiritual master Narada. The news that the hunter had become a Vaishnav spread all over the village. Indeed, all the villagers brought alms and presented them to the Vaishnav who had formerly been a hunter. In one day enough food was brought for 10 or 20 people, but the hunter and his wife would accept only as much as they could eat. One day, while speaking to his friend Parvata Muni, Narada Muni requested him to go with him and see his disciple the hunter. As the saintly sage approached the hunter's place, the hunter could see them from a distance. With great alacrity the hunter began to run toward his spiritual master, but he could not fall down and offer obeisances because ants were running hither and thither around his feet. Seeing the ants, the hunter whisked them away with a piece of cloth. After thus clearing the ants from the ground, he fell down flat to offer his obeisances. Narada Muni said, "My dear hunter, such behavior is not at all astonishing. A man in devotional service is automatically non-violent. He is the best of gentlemen. O hunter, good qualities like violence which you have developed are not very astonishing, for those engaged in the Lord's devotional service are never inclined to give pain to others because of envy." The hunter then received the two great sages in the courtyard of his house. He spread out a straw mat for them to sit upon, and with great devotion he begged for them to sit down. He then fetched water and washed the sages' feet with great devotion. Then both husband and wife drank that water and sprinkled it on their heads. When the hunter chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra before his spiritual master, his body trembled, and tears welled up in his eyes. Filled with ecstatic love, he raised his hands and began to dance, waving his garments up and down. When Parvata Muni saw the ecstatic loving symptoms of the hunter, he told Narada, "Certainly you are a touchstone." Parvata Muni continued, "My dear friend, Narada Muni, you are glorified as the sage among the demigods. By your mercy, even a low-born person like this hunter can immediately become attached to Lord Krishna." Narada Muni then asked the hunter, "My dear Vaishnav, do you have some income for your maintenance?" The hunter replied, "My dear spiritual master, whoever you send gives me something when he comes to see me." The former hunter said, "Please do not send me so much grain. Only send what is sufficient for 2 people, no more." Narada Muni approved this, not wanting more than a daily supply of food. He blessed him, saying, "You are fortunate, Narada Muni," and Parvata Muni then disappeared from the palace. Thus I have narrated the incident between the hunter. By hearing this narration, one can understand the influence of association with devotees. In this way we have found 3 or more meanings of the Atmarama verse. Combined with these, the other meanings, and the total number of meanings adds up to 26 in all. There is yet another meaning which is full of a variety of imports. Actually, there are 2 gross meanings and 32 subtle meanings. The word Atma refers to all the different expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One of them is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and the others are different incarnations of expansions of Krishna. One who always engages in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Atmarama. There are 2 types of Atmaramas. One is an Atmarama engaged in regulative devotional service, and the other is an Atmarama engaged in spontaneous devotional service. Both the Atmaramas engaged in regulative devotional service and those engaged in spontaneous devotional service are further categorized in 4 groups. There are the eternal associates, the associates who have become perfect by devotional service, and those who are practicing devotional service, and are called sadhakas, of whom there are 2 varieties. Those who are practicing devotional service are either mature or immature. Therefore, the sadhakas are of 2 types. Since the devotees execute their regulative Those who are practicing devotional service are either mature or immature. Therefore, the sadhakas are of 2 types. Since the devotees execute either regulative devotional service or spontaneous devotional service, and there are 4 groups within these 2 divisions, altogether there are 8 varieties. By executing regulative devotional service, one is elevated to the platform of an eternally perfect associate. such a servant, friend, superior, a beloved woman. Each of these is of 4 varieties. Among those who have perfected themselves by devotional service, there are servants, friends, superiors, and beloved damsels. Similarly, there are 4 types of mature devotees. Within the category of regulative devotional service, there are also immature devotees. These are also of 4 varieties. Thus, in regulative devotional service, there are altogether 16 varieties. On the path of spontaneous devotional service, there are also 16 categories of devotees. Thus, there are 32 types of Atmaramas enjoying the Supreme Lord on these 2 paths. When these 32 types of devotees are qualified with the word Muni, Nyagranta, Cha, and Api, the meanings can be increased in different ways and very soundly elaborated upon. When we add the 26 types of devotees to these 32, they altogether number 58. You may now hear from me of further manifestations of meanings. In this way, as I add the word Cha to the word after another, I make a compound. Thus, the different names of Atmaramas can be taken 58 times. In this way, one can repeat the word Atmaramaha with Cha for each of the 58 meanings. By the following, the rules previously started and rejecting all but the last, we retain that which represents all the meanings. Of words having the same form and case termination, the last one is the only one retained. When all the chakaras or additions of the word cha are taken away, 58 different meanings can still be understood by one word Atmarama. By the plural word vrikshaha, trees, all trees such as banyan trees, fig trees, kapita trees, and mango trees are indicated. The Atmarama verse is like the sentence in the forest. Many different trees bear fruit. All Atmaramas render devotional service to Lord Krishna. After uttering the word Atmaramaha 58 times and taking cha in another aggregation, one may add the word Munayaha, which will mean a great sage. That great sages also render devotional service to Lord Krishna. In this way, there are 59 meanings. Then, taking the word Nigrantaha and considering Api in the sense substance, I have tried to explain a 59th meaning of the verse. Taking all the words together, there is another meaning, whether one is an Atmarama, a great sage, or a Nirgranta. Everyone must engage in the service of the Lord. The word Api is then used in the sense of ascertainment, and then the word Eva can be uttered 4 times with 4 words. The words Urukrama, Bhakti, Ahituki, and Kurvanti are added to the word Eva again and again. Thus, another meaning is explained. Now I have given 60 different meanings of this verse, and yet there is another meaning which is also very strongly evident. The word Atma also refers to the living entity who knows about his body. That is another symptom. From Lord Brahma down to the insignificant ant, everyone is countered as the marginal potency of the Lord. The potency of Lord Vishnu is summarized in 3 categories, namely the spiritual potency, the living entities, and ignorance. The spiritual potency is full of knowledge. The living entities, although belonging to the spiritual potency, are subject to bewilderment, and the third energy, which is full of ignorance, is always visible in fruitive activities. The word Kshetragya refers to the living entity, the endeavor, the chief and material nature. The living entities are wandering in the different species of life on different planets, but if by chance they get the association of a pure devotee, sadhu, they are given up all other engagements and engage in the service of Lord Krishna. I have thus explained 60 different meanings, and all of them aim at the service of Lord Krishna. After giving so many examples, that is the only meaning. Now, due to your association, another meaning has awakened. It is due to your devotional service that these waves of meaning are arising. Lord Shiva said, I may know, Shukadev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, may know, and Vyasadeva may know or may not know Srimad Bhagavatam. On the whole, Srimad Bhagavatam, the spotless Purana, can be learned only through devotional service, not by material intelligence, speculative methods, or imaginary commentaries. After hearing all the explanations of all the different meanings of the Atmarama verse, Sanatana Goswami was struck with wonder. He fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and began to offer prayers. Sanatana Goswami said, "My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda. All the Vedic literatures are vibrated through your breathing. My dear Lord, you are the original speaker of the Bhagavatam. You therefore know its real import, but for you no one can understand the confidential meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "Why are you glorifying me personally? You should understand the transcendental position of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why don't you consider this important point? Srimad Bhagavatam is as great as Krishna, the Supreme Lord and shelter of everything. In each and every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam and in each and every syllable there are various meanings. The form of Srimad Bhagavatam is given in questions and answers. Thus the conclusion is established. By hearing these questions and answers, one is highly astonished. Now that Sri Krishna, the Absolute Truth, the Master of all mystic powers, has departed for his own abode, please tell us by whom religious principles are presently protected." After Lord Krishna departed for his abode along with religious principles and transcendental knowledge, this Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, has arisen like the sun in the age of Kali to enlighten those who have no spiritual vision. In this way, like a madman, I have explained the meaning of just one verse. I do not know who will take this as evidence. If one becomes a madman like me, he may also understand the meaning of the Srimad Bhagavatam by this process. Folding his hands, Sanatana Goswami said, "My Lord, you ordered me to write a directory about the activities of Vaishnavas. I am a most low-born person. I have no knowledge of good behavior. How is it possible for me to write authorized directions about Vaishnava activities?" Sanatana Goswami then requested the Lord, "Please personally tell me how I can write this difficult book about Vaishnava behavior. Please manifest yourself in my heart. If you would please manifest yourself within my heart and personally direct me in writing this book, then, although I am low-born, I may hope to be able to write it. You can do this because you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yourself, and whatever you direct is perfect." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, whatever you want to do, you will be able to do correctly by Lord Krishna's favor. He will manifest all real purport. Because you asked me for a synopsis, please hear these few indications. In the beginning, describe how one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. Your book should describe the characteristics of a bona fide guru and the bona fide disciple. Then, before accepting a spiritual master, one can be assured of the spiritual master's position. Similarly, the spiritual master can also be assured of the disciple's position. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, should be described as the worshipable object, and you should describe the Bija mantra for the worship of Krishna, as well as that for Rama or any other expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You should discuss the qualifications necessary for receiving a mantra, the perfection of the mantra, the purification of the mantra, initiation, morning duties, remembrance of the Supreme Lord, cleanliness, and washing the mouth and other parts of the body. You should describe how in the morning one should regularly brush his teeth, take his bath, offer prayers to the Lord, and offer obeisances to the spiritual master. You should also describe how one should render service to the spiritual master and paint one's body in 12 places with the Urdhva Pundra Tilak, as well as one should stamp one's body with the holy names of the Lord, or the symbols of the Lord, such as disc and club. You should also describe how one should render service to the spiritual master and paint one's bodies in 12 places with the Urdhva Pundra Tilak, as well as how one should stamp one's body with the holy names of the Lord, or the symbols of the Lord, such as the disc and club. After this, you should describe how one should decorate his body with Gopi Chandra, Kachandan, wear neck beads, collect tulsi leaves from the tulsi tree, cleanse his cloth and the altar, cleanse his own house or apartment, go to the temple, and ring the bell just to draw attention of Lord Krishna. Also describe deity worship, wherein one should offer food to Krishna at least 5 times daily, and in due time place him on a bed. One should also describe the process of offering arti and worship of the Lord according to the list of 5 or 50 ingredients. The characteristics of the deities should be discussed, as well as the characteristics of the Shalagram Shila. You should also discuss visiting the deities in the temple and touring holy places like Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. You should glorify the holy name and explain that one must carefully give up offenses when chanting the holy name. You should also describe the symptoms of a Vaishnava and explain that one must give up or nullify all kinds of seva aparad offenses in deity worship. The items of worship such as water, conch shell, flowers, incense, and lamp should be described. You should also mention chanting softly, offering prayers, circumambulating, and offering obeisances. All these should be carefully described. Other items you should describe are the method of performing Paush Charana, taking Krishna Prasadam, giving up unoffered food, and not blaspheming the Lord's devotees. One should describe the symptoms of a devotee, how to associate with devotees, how to satisfy the devotees by rendering service, and how to give up the association of non-devotees. You should also explain the value of regularly hearing the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. You should describe the ritualistic duties to be performed every day, and you should also describe the fortnightly duties, especially how to observe the fortnightly Ekadashi fast. And you should also describe the duties to be observed every month. And you should especially describe the observance of ceremonies like Janmashtami, Ramnavami, and Nrsimha Chaturdashi. Ekadashi, Janmashtami, Vamanan Dwadashi, Ramnavami, and Nrsimha Chaturdashi. All these should be described. You should recommend the avoidance of mixed Ekadashi and the performance of pure Ekadashi. You should also describe the fault in not observing Ekadashi. One should be very careful as far as these items are concerned. If one is not careful, one will be negligent in executing devotional service. Whatever you say about Vaishnava behavior, the establishment of Vaishnava temples and deities, and everything else should be supported by evidence from the Puranas. You should give general and specific descriptions of the behavior and activities of a Vaishnava. You should outline things that are to be done and things that are not to be done. All this should be described as regulations and etiquette. I have thus given a synopsis of the Vaishnava regulative principles. I have given this in brief just to give you a little description. When you write on this subject, Krishna will help you by spiritually awakening you. Thus I have narrated Lord Chaitanya's mercy upon Sanatana Goswami. When one hears these topics, one's heart will be cleansed of all contamination. The authorized poet Kavi Karnapur has written a book named Caitanya Candrodaya Nataka. This book tells how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed Sanatana Goswami with his specific mercy. Srila Sanatana Goswami, the elder brother of Srila Rupa Goswami, was the most important minister in the government of Hussain Saha, the ruler of Bengal, and he was considered a most brilliant gem in the assembly. He possessed all the opulences of a royal position, but he gave up everything just to accept the youthful goddess of renunciation. Although he externally appeared to be a mendicant who had renounced everything, he was filled with the pleasure of devotional service within his heart. Thus he can be compared to a deep lake covered with moss. He was the object of pleasure for all the devotees who knew the science of devotional service. As soon as Sanatana Goswami arrived in front of Lord Chaitanya, The Lord, seeing him, became merciful to him. The Lord, who has the complexion of a golden champaka flower, opened his arms and embraced him while expressing great affection. In the course of time, the transcendental news of Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan was almost lost. To enunciate explicitly those transcendental pastimes, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu empowered Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami with the nectar of his mercy to carry out this work in Vrindavan. I have thus explained the mercy bestowed on Sanatana Goswami by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. If one hears this description, all moroseness in the heart will diminish. By rendering these instructions to Sanatana Goswami, one will become fully aware of Lord Krishna's various expansions and the process of devotional service according to the regulative principles and spontaneous love. Thus, everything can be fully known. By reading these instructions, a pure devotee can understand love of Krishna, the mellows of devotional service, and the conclusion of devotional service. Everyone can understand all these things to their ultimate end by studying these instructions. The conclusion of these instructions can be known to one whose life and soul are the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus ends chapter 24, the 61 explanations of the Atmaram verse. Very powerful chapter. And so, we can study it, look at it, hear it. You hear lots of verses from Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in here. And here is everything's written. And spiritual disciples can understand these things. But it can be a little heavy. It's one of the more heavier chapters in Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, but it can be understood. There's very deep meaning in all this. Chaitanya gave instructions how to read the nectar of devotion. We can also become absorbed in it, dive into it, and get some of the nectar by serving the Lord. Thank you, everyone, for the inspiration. I really feel inspired that we're continuing this reading. It can be heavy, but this is how we need to do it. Thank you, everyone. See you in a few minutes.